Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to go into Gen 3 blockchains because I realized that I've discussed a couple of, or I guess quite a few of them at this point, somewhat at length, but we've never really gone into like what are Gen 3 blockchains, what do they mean, how do they work, all that type of stuff, what's their purpose, things like that. And then I also want to go into Aptos specifically after we kind of cover what that is. So hopefully today this video is useful, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So starting out, looking at crypto bubbles, what we can see is the market has kind of just recently jumped. And as you can see probably pretty clearly, just everything is up big. We've got Ethereum up 5%, Bitcoin's around here, yeah, right here at 5%. We've got Jasmine, this I guess it's blocked by my picture, but it's at 6%. We've got ICP somewhere around here, I think it's like 4 or 5%. Solana's at 2%. Like overall, pretty basically everything's up big, right? Obviously, memes are leading the way as they usually do. Sui has made a pretty nice bounce, as we've been talking about on the channel. This has been one that's kind of been leading the way down over the past couple weeks, but again, not much to worry about just because it has done really quite well over the past month or so, and so it's still even up on the month and whatnot. So anyway, market's looking pretty good overall. It does look like the market is primed for a pretty nice move to the upside. As the election gets closer, it seems like the volatility is starting to pick back up. The price action is starting to pick back up. It's starting to feel, a little bit more like the crypto that we know and a little bit less boring, which I have to say, over the past, really probably since the beginning of August, it's been pretty boring. So, I'm hoping that we get some more interesting things happening, and obviously that'll drive more retail attention and just overall kind of attention to the crypto space, which obviously is a good thing for us, us mighty few who are still actually here paying attention. So anyway, but looking at what I want to do today is I want to kind of go over a quick explanation of like basically what the 3 generations of blockchain are, how we got to and why we're considering these recent ones, Aptos, Sui, Say, even Caspa we could kind of put in there. I mean, with a caveat that Caspa isn't actually a blockchain, so that's probably the only reason it doesn't actually belong there. But what we can see is, this article is from a while back, so I mean, this concept isn't anything particularly new. But I want to go over what exactly are the differences between the 3 generations and kind of why it makes sense. So overall, we've got the first generation of blockchain tech, which realistically is Bitcoin, and probably only Bitcoin, just because Bitcoin was kind of the first. Bitcoin was the one that essentially pioneered crypto as we know it today. And ultimately, the main point of the first generation blockchain was utilizing peer-to-peer transactions and essentially the proof of work hashing algorithm. That's pretty much kind of all there is to it. And basically all of the popular early on cryptocurrencies use proof of work, and were basically relatively simple in their form and their function. The second generation is where things start to get a little bit more complex and a little bit more fancy, I guess you could say. And so this is when we start to see Ethereum. So after we have the first generation, which is just basically purely for peer-to-peer transactions, the second generation is more about bringing the internet on chain and doing things like that. Obviously, kind of a lot of what we heard about Ethereum, right? dApps, DeFi, compute on chain, DPIN, DeSci, all these different whatever, all this stuff is on chain. Essentially, that is the second generation of blockchain tech, right? But as we can see, I guess I'm missing NFTs as well. NFTs are another really big one that we can see here that obviously I missed, but that's also a very, very important one. What we can see though is kind of, and I think this was kind of most highlighted at the peak of last bull market, was we were on Ethereum, right? Obviously transaction fees were $100, $200, $300 a pop sometimes, just ridiculously expensive, and ultimately not usable, because frankly not even the whole world was transacting on chain, right? It was a pretty select few people, and it was just way too unaffordable. So that brings us ultimately to the third generation of blockchain tech. And what we can see here is with third generation of blockchain tech, it's all about basically doing what Ethereum did, but just at scale. So, we're looking for obviously higher throughput, interoperability, what else? Sharing of data, cross-chain solutions, Basically all of that is like kind of mainly what we're looking for with third gen, and third gen becomes a little bit more broad because I guess you could technically loop in, like, as they do here, Cardano and Polkadot kind of were initially intended to be kind of like, or not even intended, like they are, I guess, like third generation blockchains. Cosmos we could probably throw in there. Solana could be kind of in its own different way. ICP is another one. A lot of these are all basically tech that is looking to try and scale what Ethereum can do. Like basically just do Ethereum, but more and faster and cheaper. So that's kind of the whole point here. Now, kind of zooming in on what we're focused on today specifically is we want to look at Aptos, because Aptos is one that caught at least some attention recently. Its price performance, frankly, has not actually done all too well this year. We can see kind of going back to the beginning, early 2023, we saw a launch. Well, I guess we saw whatever this fiasco was, but we can see it kind of came down a little bit, about $3-ish. It then ran up all the way to kind of all-time highs, or I guess excluding this, all-time highs of around $20. It's then come back, dumped all the way down again to about $4.50-ish, came all the way back up, I think, to about 19, and then it's come back all the way down again to about, again, low fours, and then here we are sitting right at about $9.80. This may look relatively familiar for any of you who watched the Sui video. Sui kind of followed a relatively similar but trajectory, just kind of on a smaller scale, I guess, where they kind of initial run up, huge pullback, another huge run up, and then another huge pullback, and then Sui's actually kind of reached and breached its all-time highs. We have not seen Aptos do that, and that's kind of what begs this next question, right? Is Aptos next? Because kind of what we saw a lot around last cycle was a lot of these new shiny blockchains, money just kind of rotated between them, and they kind of had their own cycles within the larger super cycle. And so what I'm kind of wondering is if we start to see money kind of pull out of Sui and potentially into like Aptos and Say and Caspa and some of these others, just because people are going to be looking kind of for the next big gainer. And so that's something that I think we could be seeing here. We can see obviously ever since beginning of August, pretty decent uptrend, but not at the magnitude that we've seen with some of these other third gen blockchains. Doing all right. Obviously, we're kind of running into a point of resistance here. If I had to guess, we'll probably be breaking through this and possibly even this one, especially if we continue to see the Bitcoin run that we have seen. I would imagine we start to see some pretty good momentum to the upside. We have been keeping this uptrend, so I think that seems to make pretty decent bit of sense. But overall, we can see from the chart, very, very volatile. If you swing trade it and kind of like play the highs and lows, like you can usually do relatively well looking kind of over time. And so it does look like, potentially we could be seeing another kind of recovery back to the upside here. Obviously, we didn't nail the bottom here. We're kind of up 2x from that. But, even if we hit up at this level, like we're getting pretty close to, an additional 2x here. I guess it'd be over 2x. So, potentially not a bad time to get in. Again, this is not financial advice. This is me just kind of looking into Aptos, explaining third gen blockchains, kind of doing some research and discussion about that. So, but what we can see here is, from a chart perspective, looking pretty decent. As you can see, I do a lot of my charting and whatnot on Margex. You can trade Aptos on Margex up to 50x leverage. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, I do have that referral link in the description below. Again, leverage trading can be inherently dangerous, so just make sure you know what you're doing, kind of before you get into that. But overall, especially when you're trading these big swings, highs and lows, you can do really quite well for yourself, if you're able to kind of be patient and play those macro trends and most importantly, not get liquidated while you're doing it. So if you are interested, please check the link in the description below. With Margex, there's no KYC, no VPN, also up to a $10,000 deposit bonus if that's something you're interested in. Continuing on, I wanted to take a look at a little bit about what Aptos does, or kind of like what their pitch is. You'll see if any of you, again, if you watch the Sui video, fairly similar. A lot of these people are, I think, kind of going for the same market. They're trying to capture the same user, I guess, and kind of the same narrative, I think, more importantly than anything else. These are kind of like some of the big logos that are using Aptos. Obviously, like pretty good names overall. What we can see as far as use cases, AI, I mean, that's everybody's AI something nowadays, just because that's kind of where all the money and the attention is. We can see, gaming, NFTs, social media. We've got a couple others as well, entertainment, DeFi, things like that. So, I mean, obviously they're trying to be pretty flexible. Another kind of burgeoning market that's coming is kind of social media on chain. Also, gaming, I think, is kind of primed to be one of the larger successes of this bull market, just because we're starting to see some of these crypto games actually find somewhat mainstream success and doing relatively well. Obviously, NFTs were huge last cycle. We could potentially see them be equally huge or bigger this next cycle. I think if crypto gaming takes off, that could actually spark a resurgence into NFTs. And so that's something that, is definitely worth keeping an eye out on. DeFi, obviously, that's huge money. That's been kind of like the big money maker and kind of product market fit that's been proven so far in crypto. So obviously everybody's trying to be, DeFi compatible. Just because you do really quite well for yourself if you find something that actually does well and it is on your chain. So obviously, overall pretty decent as far as what they're showing here. If we look at ecosystem projects, we can see pretty decent amount of projects. Again, not huge. A lot of these are cross-chain projects, so not necessarily like exclusive to Aptos, but an overall decent amount of projects on chain here. The other thing I want to take a look at here is just some of the stats that Aptos is showing. They can show 13.3K all-time peak transactions per second. This is a little bit different from what we were seeing on Sui, because Sui is claiming 300,000 transactions per second, but again, like, this has not at all been proven or substantiated. Aptos is going kind of the different route and showing that like what they've actually been able to prove that they can do. Also, decent bit of monthly active users as well as transactions and nodes and all this type of stuff. So, pretty decent, user adoption on their network. Obviously, kind of continuing to see that growth and that adoption is really what's going to impact price more than anything. Kind of with the Gen 3 blockchain games going on, I think Solana is really the only one that we could call a winner so far. I think a lot of these other ones are trying to fight it out and figure out which one is going to do kind of the best of them all. Right now, to me, it kind of feels like spin a wheel, right? Sui, for whatever reason, it has seemed to caught the narrative better than most, but that doesn't mean that's going to stay that way, right? And a lot of these are trying to claim that they all do the same things but better and different and all this type of stuff. So I don't know that there's like a one true clear winner in my mind. A lot of them kind of seem to do a lot of the same things, other than Solana. I think Solana is the one that's really started to see some real adoption and a lot of real like attention and mind share kind of moving its way. And so as for all these others, we'll kind of see how it goes. Obviously, worth keeping an eye on. One thing I did want to check out on CoinGecko, as we do with every single video, particularly when talking with some of these like VC chains that are relatively new, what we can see is about just barely shy of 50% diluted. So we can expect essentially at today's market cap another $5 billion of possible, not guaranteed, but possible sell pressure coming in. And so this is something that you always need to be very careful on when there's a much larger fully diluted valuation. It's just always something to be very careful of. This is not to say at all that like you shouldn't because something isn't fully diluted, but it becomes a lot more dangerous when you do that. So if this is something that like you seem interested in and potentially are wanting to get into, just make sure you're aware of that and do your due diligence and research. Again, none of this was investment advice. This is mainly just to go over some of these projects that are happening within the crypto ecosystem, hopefully give you a little bit more information and context about what they do, and also explain some of these things where you could potentially get caught in the future. And so obviously don't get caught, and I'm trying to do my best to educate people on kind of the difference between the different generations of blockchains, as well as making sure that people understand the tokenomics and all this type of stuff before they get in and buy things like that. So anyway, hopefully you did find the information in this video useful. If you did, please do like and subscribe. Those really are the two best ways of helping me support my channel and also getting this information out to other people. I really am just trying to educate the overall crypto user to be as prepared as possible as we can within this kind of crazy and ever-changing crypto market. So a like and subscribe are a really great way to do that. Also, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of them. So if you have anything that you want me to see or mention or whatever, please just feel free to do that. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.